This is the Sports Psychology Podcast with Michael Ceely for Sunday, July 3rd, 2022. This is a stage-by-stage psychological analysis of the Tour de France, the insights, the mindset into the psychology of the Tour and the riders of the Tour. Today's stage finished in Sonderburg, Denmark, 180 kilometers, flat stage, sprinter's paradise, as some of these flat stages are in the beginning, won by Dylan Groenewegen. So today I'm going to be talking about the sprinter's mindset, similar to yesterday, getting a little deeper on the sprinter's mentality, what it takes to win a Tour de France stage. So the big guns up there today, we had Fabio Jakobsen, who is in the green jersey, the sprint leader's jersey. Wout van Aert, always an incredible sprinter. Caleb Ewan, very fast. Peter Sagan, one of my favorites, very popular rider. Also, Dylan Groenewegen, of course, the winner. Jasper Philipsen also up there at the end. So, sprinter's mindset. You gotta want it. You gotta really want that victory. Aside from that, some of the basics of road cycling, sprinting, especially in stage races, really helps a lot to have a strong team. Quick-Step had a great lead-out train today. Alpecin also had a great lead-out train. So for those who don't know cycling, a lead-out train is when you get your entire team, or as many riders as you can, to the very front of the peloton, and you try to dictate the pace and the positioning in the final kilometer, a couple kilometers. And Quick-Step did that very well today. Peter Sagan doesn't have a really strong team for lead-outs, but he is so talented. He's able to kind of squeeze in and get the wheel he wants anyway, which is pretty astounding. So let me talk about a very interesting thing that happened today, and that is what I call bending the rules. So in the sprinter's mindset, you like I said, you got to really want it. You got to be really hungry for that victory. You got to have that lead-out train, which helps a lot. You don't have to have that lead-out train, but it definitely helps. So those, some of the basics right there is the hunger and the positioning and the lead-out. All that really helps. But there's another aspect to the mindset of the sprinter, and that is what I call bending the rules. It's kind of part of the game. It's the unwritten rules of sprinting, is that you don't have to be a dirty sprinter, because a dirty sprinter will get kind of excommunicated and get a bad reputation and not really be respected. But kind of like hockey, you can kind of check people, if you will, and as long as the officials don't see it, it's kind of within the rules. So there's like an unwritten honor code among sprinters of what you can and what you can't do. And sprinters, to be really successful at some of these tour stages, you have to push that limit and really bend those rules. And we saw that today with Wout van Aert. He's a very, very strong sprinter. He launched his sprint. He decided to really go for it at about 170 meters from the line. Perfect time to do it. That's great. Now, unfortunately, he had Peter Sagan right on his wheel. And Sagan, as we know, likes to go with maybe about 75 meters to go. He has that final quick snap. He's incredible, and that's really where he shines. Now, Wout van Aert knew that Sagan was on his wheel. And what you can see if you watch the video on YouTube is that Van Aert slightly goes to the right, but really, really slowly to the right, ends up boxing in Peter Sagan on his right side, right next to the barriers. Now, I've raced bikes enough. A lot of people were watching this video, and it's pretty obvious to me that Wout van Aert boxed in Peter Sagan, impeded his forward movement, which is illegal and merits a relegation. Now, the officials should have caught this, I think. I think the reason why Van Aert got away with it was because he did it so subtly and didn't cause a crash. Nevertheless, right at the finish, after the sprint, Peter Sagan had some words with Van Aert and said something to him, probably cursed him out. But let me talk about the mentality of this kind of sprinting at this, the top level in the world. What you have to do to win a tour stage is that you have to at least be willing to bend the rules, because kind of everyone else is doing it. We've seen Sagan put people into the barriers before Caleb Ewan too. Like, all of these guys are not like clean sprinters. There's no such thing really at this level of a clean sprinter. Now, you don't want to do anything really out of pocket that's going to, really hurt people. But what we saw today with Wout van Aert was he played it perfectly. He said, I'm going to risk getting relegated, losing today's stage, not crashing anyone, but I'm going to slowly move my opponent into the barriers. And I'm going to do it in a way that's safe. If I can put it that way. You can watch the video and you can see how he did it. But that's the mentality I think you have to play at this level, this game, is that everyone else is doing it, bending the rules, and if you're not willing to do that, you're going to be winning fewer races. So that means leaning on people, that means sticking your knee out, not letting someone pass, flaring your elbows out, maybe subtly changing your line, being slightly erratic in the very final meters to kind of intimidate riders from passing you. All of these things are going on in the mindset, in the mind of those sprinters. So those are my observations for today. Let me know what you think about this. It's kind of like hockey. You kind of like check people and you get away with it. But if you're really dirty, you're going to get called out and you're not going to be welcome. So it's this unwritten code, the mindset of sprinting in the pro peloton. That's it for today. Tune in again, and we'll be talking about the psychology of the Tour de France.